We're back.
And front.
And
Inside.
oh, it's Alejandro.
See,
Hello, Alejandro.
you're my favorite, Pastor.
Thank you.
Except the beautiful guns of Brother Josh, the senior chief. Oh, there's so many guns. I make baby armadillos just by looking. If only so Frederick was here to help me.
And this goes on YouTube.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
So-
my wife sees this.
So are we ready to get going?
You tell me.
All right.
I'll see if I can mess it up.
That really is just water. I'm having a good beard day. I just want to say that for the world.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a white beard day.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer.
Ho, 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 ho.
Here we go. Welcome to the State of the Ozarks podcast. This is Josh Heston, editor-in-chief.
And this is Dale Grubaugh setting in for the infamous Ethan Grubaugh. I am publisher of State of the Ozarks.
And we're talking about our Ozarks.
Your community.
And this episode I've been thinking about has been brought to you by Vintage Paris Coffee Shop and Roastery with Matt and Jessica Farmer.
Artist Christine Reitzel, Beauty from Light.
Josh Huxtable, State of the Ozarks patron.
Stafford's Barbershop and Shave Company, the place for men in downtown Branson.
Shepherd the Musical, rediscovering America's story.
Blue Rock Print Company, upgrade your look.
And the Taney County Health Department, creating opportunities for healthy lives in our community.
Those are some really wonderful people right there.
We appreciate those
Yes,
people.
we do. Be sure to check them out.
Yes, they help us.
Do what we do.
Yes.
Whatever it is we do.
What do we do?
I don't know. We're doing it.
Oh,
Here we go.
We had an art walk.
Yes, we did. Oh, man, what an art walk we had.
That was fun.
Yes, first Friday art walk, first Friday in June on Downing Street in beautiful downtown Hollister.
So successful that it is going to be a first Friday of every month art walk.
Yes.
In downtown Hollister, brought to you by State of the Ozarks.
Yes, and that's going to be exciting.
It is. You know, it's lots of people. It was a crowd.
Yes, a big crowd. Lots of people.
A really big crowd, and of course we had our roles. We did things, but we had a really awesome team that made a lot of that happen.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We want to give a big shout out and thanks to Sir Frederick the Wise.
Absolutely.
Caleb Hirschman for doing a great job. And then, of course, Jared Hool, who also doubles as our engineer for these podcasts. And the voice of Alejandro, the
handler.
Okay.
And Joseph Long.
Joseph Long.
With Worley and Associates, and of course also with Vintage Paris. And his wife makes some amazing bread.
Oh, she does.
Just wanted to throw that in there as a freebie.
And
and the talented, hardworking, and lovely Jenny Judlin.
oh my, yeah, and really, if it wasn't for Jenny having the idea, the art walk probably wouldn't have happened.
No.
At least not yet.
No, I don't think you and I wouldn't have jumped the gun
No.
on that. And she came on board about mid-spring, so not very long ago. And boy, has she integrated into the community.
Yeah.
She is an amazing fit.
She's going to work me to death.
Are you-
Just kidding, Jenny. I love you.
Well, if you're gonna die, make sure you die happy.
Yes, I intend to.
But not anytime.
Be happy, not die.
But not anytime soon.
Not anytime real
You
soon.
can be happy.
I've got 30, 40 years left.
Good.
Yeah,
That is
I hope.
a wonderful thing. And we've got a weekly to talk about.
Yes, we do.
And
it's right there.
You're a part of this weekly, actually.
Well,
in more ways than one.
I saw my picture.
You did see your picture, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this editorial. You were there when I was inspired to write it.
Yes, and it's very very thought-provoking, very soul-searching. So I guess what I'm going to ask you is tell me, I know we have on your mind, on paper there, but tell me what was going through your heart and soul at the time that you wrote this.
Well, it was, first of all, it was inspired from a day that we went out to Silver Dollar City to Bluegrass and Barbecue. First time we had been on park this year.
Yes.
And kind of an emotional time, regardless. And then we'd seen some groups, and then we went into the Riverfront Playhouse and saw a specific bluegrass family.
Yes.
So I'm going to throw this back to you for a moment.
Okay.
Tell me your impressions of this family. You had never seen them perform before.
No,
I had, but you had not.
I had not. And my first impression, just sitting down there going, okay, we're going to hear, another bluegrass family, and some of them have been really good, some of them have been, okay, so I didn't know exactly what to expect. But when this family stepped out on stage for the very first time, and they began to play and sing, I'm going, oh my, we don't have just a family here. We've got a good band, and they were all connected. I mean, there are some world-class pickers and singers, in that family, and so I was really, really impressed with them.
So then, backing up a little bit, this was the Linsay family.
Yes.
In my editorial, I did not name them, but this was the Linsay family from Kentucky. Several years ago, they won the Youth and Bluegrass championship
I remember that.
at Silver Dollar City. And then something that had happened actually very recently was the loss of one of their sons.
Yes.
And they spoke about that. To me, that was incredibly, it was difficult. As a pastor and as a fan of bluegrass, and you were sitting in the theater with me. How did that feel to you?
Well, at first, honestly, it touched my heart. I mean, my eyes were welling up as they were telling the story, and being able to tell the story in such a way where they weren't soliciting sympathy from the audience. They were just saying, this has happened in our life, and this is a result of what's happened in our life, and we'd like to, pay tribute, to our son by allowing our other son to do the song that he had written in honor of his brother, and it's still just thinking about that. It's still very emotional for me. It really is.
And I don't think I did the moment justice in my editorial. And the reason I don't is because there are some moments that have such a emotional and spiritual resonance. And what I was trying to say with the editorial is that our words do fail us. Our words are like clay, and we're trying to describe so much more than that.
Yeah. And I felt that they did an absolute amazing job, or the young man that wrote the song, and it was an instrumental, and just it moved me. It really, really moved me.
Much more so, I was not expecting to have a transcendent spiritual experience at that day.
Yeah.
And not necessarily, and I don't mean this badly, but not necessarily a welcome one in the sense that I was going out to eat pie and have a good time. I wasn't going out to try to dig deep into my soul, and yet I did.
Yeah.
And it was very powerful. It was very emotional. And And I think that this really, to me anyway, this comes down to the fact that music speaks in a language to our hearts that words cannot. And we keep using, when we're trying to describe, when you use words to describe music, we have a very limited repertoire. Words like soaring or chord scales, or it does not do it justice. And I think that, number one, of course, I believe that that's why we are attracted to music. But number two, I think it's why having opportunities to experience live performances is so important. And we, you know, I'm addicted to YouTube like everybody else. I'm always on listening, iTunes and YouTube, but there was something very, not just moving, but beyond, to be in that theater, having that collective experience.
The young man, in fact, the entire family, you know, they were able with those scales and with those chords and with, you know, all that, they were able to reach into our hearts and our souls and our being, and, you know, share the emotion that they were feeling, you know, and it was a very gratifying thing. And again, I don't know any other word. For me, it was just very moving, very stirring. And
with that, it was the inspiration for our 2 feature articles. For our 2 feature articles in State of the Ozarks, one of them is brand new, and it's a video, and the other one is an article that I've been having fun republishing over and over since 2013. The first is Amazing Grace, that we captured on video with you and Danette. And the second one is, of course, the International Bluegrass Music Association convention in Raleigh, North Carolina in 2013. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, you know, since we were talking about music stirring us and you know, speaking to our emotions, well, let's talk about you know, the video.
Yes.
Of Amazing Grace.
I was glad to get that captured.
Yes, thank you. I was glad to do it. Something that was said to me yesterday, actually, as church was ending. Well, actually, church was over. And we did Amazing Grace as part of the congregational and along with other songs. And one of the men came, and as he was leaving, he took my hand and he said, "Thank you so very much for allowing us to sing some of the fundamental truths of our faith." You know, and Amazing Grace is one of those songs where everybody knows at least the first verse and the last verse. You know. Not so much the middle verses, but we know that by heart. But there is such truth involved in what was written in that song. You know, God's amazing grace, His giving me something that, you know, I didn't deserve. You know, He saved that wretch. He saved a wretch just like me. You know. And all the things that it goes in that. So it's another one of those songs that speaks, where we can sing to God what we're really feeling, but maybe we can't put it into words ourselves. Somebody else has done that with the music that goes along with it. Yeah.
I want to go off on this a little bit.
Okay.
And something that we do at Smyrna is we have the 1975 Baptist hymnal with a lot of songs that date back to the 1800s. And we have Danette, who is your wife, playing piano, and one of us singing in terms of leading, and then we have congregational singing. The song worship or worship music in churches has changed a lot in the last 40 years.
Yes.
At Smyrna, it has not. Obviously, this is not something that we want to be dogmatic about and be like, our way is the only way and this newfangled stuff is crap. We don't want to be like that.
No, and we aren't.
Because I think that there's, in terms of human expression of spiritual things and emotion, there's a lot of different ways that human beings can express that. But I want to talk a little bit about the way we do it, which is very traditionalist. What are your thoughts about using this structure, which is a very, it's a structure that's been around for a long time?
Well, again, it's something that we're familiar with, and of course, Smyrna Baptist Church being a country church, doing other things might be a little awkward. We have tried that, and at times we'll get the little chorus book out and sing the choruses. But one of the reasons why that we do what we do, as long as I'm pastor there, stems from an experiment that I did one evening when we had a youth group show up for service. And so I just went to the kids and I said, now, I tell you what I'd like for you to do. Tell me what your favorite hymns are. Tell me what your favorite songs are that you'd like to do, and we'll do them. We'll find them. And they had the chorus book in front of them. They had the hymn book, and things like that, and they could have brought their own. But the songs that they picked were Amazing Grace, The Old Rugged Cross, and How Great Thou Art. 3 songs that have been, How Great Thou Art is a little bit more contemporary as such, but the other 2, I mean, without batting an eye, that's exactly what they wanted to sing. And because it is those old hymns of the faith, number 1, we're familiar with because everybody's sung them, but number 2, they are really deep theologically. They are profound theologically, and that I'm one of those individuals that I'm really skeptical, of gospel music, because there's some heresy being sung out there that people are just tapping their toes and clapping their hands and woo-hooing, and I'm going, no, that's nothing that's contained within God's Word, so I won't give any examples at the moment because somebody might get offended, but we have to be careful, I think. And I know that's probably a sideline off of where, but because of that, we do that. Then we also do another ministry where we go into the nursing homes.
That one is really amazing to watch.
Yes, it is. And we sing the old songs. Some of them we don't even sing. We have to kind of hunt down and get the words and stuff. But we sing the old hymns, the old songs of the church. And, these residents are there, most of them can't see or anything. But when we start off on Amazing Grace or Victory in Jesus, they are just smiling, they're singing, they know every word, all the verses, and we had one gentleman say to us one time, do you sing like that at your church? And one of our men said, well, of course we do. And he started coming. His family member was but he started coming to Smyrna Baptist Church because we sing that kind of music, on a regular basis.
And they talk about the fact that music is stored in parts of the brain that oftentimes is unaffected by things like dementia or Alzheimer's, and you really begin to see it.
Yes.
Individuals that are barely responsive, they're barely able to speak, they're almost incoherent, sitting in their chairs, slumped over, and then they start hearing this music and they start responding.
They're singing. Last week, 2 weeks ago when we were there, we had a lady that apparently was a piano player when she was able, because she was on the table in front of her with her fingers, sitting in her wheelchair, playing the piano along with my wife. And I'm just, you talk about stirring, it really is.
And something for people who are not really familiar with this music, with traditional church music. What do you want to call it? The traditional sacred hymns of the church. What do we call this?
The sacred hymns of the church. I think that's
these songs culturally, whether you're a Christian or not, or whether you believe or not, or whether you care or not, these songs and this music is a bedrock of our culture, and it has impacted country music, and of course it has impacted bluegrass music. Of course it has also impacted Southern gospel and contemporary Christian music as well, but especially the things like the tempos, the chord changes, the keys, all of this was a primer for many of the greatest musicians, vocalists of American 20th century music. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to include this Bluegrass Music Convention, the IBMA article, along with that, and just get some of your thoughts with this. Unfortunately, back in 2013, you could not be in Raleigh.
No.
It was...
I was so sad I couldn't be in Raleigh. Maybe one day.
We should go. State of
Okay.
the Ozark should go to Raleigh, North Carolina for
Okay.
the Bluegrass Music Association, IBMA convention. And something that, a couple of things that I loved. This was the first time it was at Raleigh. They had moved it from Nashville. In 2012 it was in Nashville. In 2013 it was in Raleigh. And I loved it. It was a street festival. It was grassroots, of course, on that Piedmont plain of North Carolina in the shadows of the Appalachian Mountains. You're really in much of the birthplace of bluegrass music, and of course in the heart of traditional mountain music as well. And then they did something really crazy. Traditionally, all of the showcases had been at the the convention center in Nashville. I don't know what it's called. And so to see all the convention bands playing in essentially in competition, you just sat in a convention center. And this time they did I think they called it the Bluegrass Ramble, and most of the bands were in local establishments around downtown Raleigh, and many of those establishments were bars, in many cases old buildings, old bars that had been there for a long time. And it was so amazing to essentially go in, get a drink, sit back, and watch this music being played far, far away from fluorescent lighting and uncomfortable convention chairs, and this, far away from a sterile environment, and very much within a living environment that I think did honor to this music. It was an unforgettable experience for me. A number of people, of course, bluegrass is kind of all over the place in this, but a lot of bluegrass festivals, especially around here, there's no alcohol.
Yeah.
At all. And there's some interesting history for that. And bluegrass gospel is a really big thing, and a lot of folks in bluegrass gospel, of course, would never be caught drinking. So for a number of folks, this was culture shock, and I know that they got some negative pushback on that, but I love the experience. And I love being in downtown Raleigh. It's a beautiful town, beautiful city, and I got to go to Mecca's, which is a soul food restaurant and bar, but mostly restaurant, that's been there since the 1920s. And wow, I got like the most amazing meal. It was 2 pieces of home fried chicken and coleslaw and homemade green beans and pie, blueberry pie with ice cream, coffee, and sweet tea. And before I added the tip, I think it was something like $12.34.
Wow.
I went back.
Now I'm hungry.
I went back. and I probably shouldn't be talking about this, but I'm going to anyway. It's also where I discovered salty dogs.
Oh.
So for people who are unaware, salty dog involves of course your alcohol of choice, sometimes vodka, sometimes bourbon, sometimes just whiskey, along with grapefruit juice, and then there's salt on the rim. And those were nice, especially with some bluegrass.
I'll have to take your word on that one.
But it was, again, there were moments, and there was one moment that I recorded. I wished I had my my smartphone. Of course, I didn't have a smartphone at the time, and had recorded some of the video of Balsam Range singing in what was originally it's a Unitarian church now, but it was originally built as a Baptist church just off the downtown square. Amazing acoustics. I do think that some of these old church buildings are like violins or fiddles. Like the longer they're around, the better the acoustics get. And I think Smyrna's like that.
Yeah, I think so. 145 years there. But
Wow.
anyway, I digress.
And so, I think the church building in Raleigh was newer than Smyrna, but it was an amazing place. The stained glass windows. They had red shag carpeting.
Oh,
But it fit with the environment.
good.
And Balsam Range, they played and sang "Place No Wreath" upon my door.
Mm-hmm.
It was about midnight, and there was just that soft southern breeze coming off the Atlantic, and it was I feel like it was a sacred experience.
Mm-hmm. Good. It's yeah, that song can do it to you. I've got it playing in my head right now.
Balsam Range is good folks.
Yeah, they are.
I would like to hear them sometime.
I was
Sometime soon.
sorry they weren't out at the Bluegrass and Barbecue Festival this year.
Well, hopefully they'll get.
Hopefully they'll get back.
State of the Ozarks would like to see that.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that, what was our recipe this week?
Our recipe this week was, or is, something here. Let me,
I wanted it to be southern.
I'm a little slow on the uptake there, Mr. Heston. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Coleslaw with buttermilk dressing.
Buttermilk.
Ooh, boy. You talk about good eating. You know, we got green cabbage and carrots and sweet onions and salt and
It's healthy.
bacon.
Ooh, it's got
everything's
bacon.
better with bacon. And buttermilk, of course. Some sort of canned oil, canola oil, and cider vinegar,
What's
brown
that?
mustard, sugar.
We should make that.
Okay,
That
I
sounds.
like it.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds mighty good. Oh, well, I think that's it for here.
Okay, super
So,
good.
to learn more, visit us on stateoftheozarks.net.
Sign up for State of the Ozarks weekly email.
Like State of the Ozarks on Facebook.
Follow at Follow at Soto Media on Twitter.
Subscribe to Soto Media on YouTube.
Follow us on Instagram at State of the Ozarks.
And subscribe to this Been Thinking About podcast on iTunes. And we thank you for listening to Been Thinking About, the State of the Ozarks podcast with Josh.
And Dale,
And this is our Ozarks.
your community.
Woohoo!
I am so sorry about that.
Enjoy!
You'll have to